If the SEC could outright shut, if the SEC had the power to outright shut down Coinbase, they would have already.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking into our Traded Black podcast. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Earnings season coming up in the next couple of weeks. We had a pre-announcement earnings call this morning with TerrAscend's and some impressive numbers. So what was the big takeaway? Well, let's bring in the gents, the expertise, the experts. Anthony Verrill, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you as well. Good to see you. It's nice to be expert labeled every once in a while.
Think that's a fair assessment?
I like to, not really. But yeah, I'll take it.
You'll take it. Ben, how about you? You like the expert title?
Yeah, I like it myself. I think hopefully it applies. I think we impart pretty good advice, but we'll let the users be the judge.
Yeah,
It's funny. It's funny because two of the guys I follow on Twitter from the Founders Fund, which is Peter Thiel's main VC fund, they have in their Twitter bio "Village Idiot" at the Founders Fund instead of like expert. And every time I see it in the Twitter bio, I laugh.
Don't take yourself too serious, right?
No, you can't. Yeah.
All right. We have no idea what we're doing, but we're going to take a guess in this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
How does that sound?
Educated guesses.
Educated guesses. Real quick, all views of the Traded Black podcast, the guests in this podcast are per the opinion. You should not treat opinions by us or a guest as investment advice. The views on this podcast are totally informational and are not investment advice. Okay, let's begin. As I said, now entering earnings season. First up, pre-announced earnings with TerrAscend. They seem to be kind of a darling in the space over the course of the summer, obviously at the TSX listing last month, but financial results for Q2 of fiscal year were announced earlier this week that saw projected net revenue growth of 12.7% year over year and 3.9% sequentially. Gross profit margin is expected to increase to 50.2% in Q2, which is notably higher than the previous quarter in the same period last year. Impressive earnings call for the company, don't you think, Ben?
Yes, I think it was. There is no guesswork here. The company pre-announced because they have good numbers to announce, and that
Bingo.
includes, like you said, the year-over-year number, revenue growth, and even sequential. Because a couple quarters ago, a lot of these MSOs were struggling to even get above, positive sequential growth, and TerrAscend did this at an almost 4% clip, and these numbers, it's worth noting that don't include any of the Maryland sales, in which TerrAscend has 4 operating dispensaries and is at the state cap. So the numbers are going to look even better than this on a go-forward basis over the next quarter, and that's something worth noting. And numbers came out for Maryland today with 85 million in July sales alone, and that's an annual run rate of close to $1 billion. So the needle's moving up here. Growth rate is good. Adjusted EBITDA is good. They should go into free cash flow soon, I think. And, the needle's moving up.
But Anthony, you've always talked highly about this company, right? And is this kind of like the coming out part of the unofficial announcement to say, like, we're off and running now for this company?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I was saying that it wasn't in self-interest, as I do have a pretty large position in the company. I have for some time now. But I mean, Ben hit it on the head. Maryland is not even baked into these numbers fully. That's just coming online. It's going to be a growth engine for them. Michigan is what I'm really looking at in the audited earnings release that comes. I mean, you're starting to see that market stabilize, and it's probably going to trend to the upside. And I mean, they're in a lot of highly lucrative markets. I mean, Pennsylvania is going to be good for them. New Jersey, once they get it together, there's a lot of growth potential for this company versus some of the other operators that are in markets that are starting to really hit a ceiling. So, I mean, I like the growth prospects for a name like TerrAscend in this space.
Ben, what do you think was the contributing factor to the improvement in this quarter? Like, what does it indicate about the company's operational efficiencies, I should say?
Yeah, I think they're just overall they're executing. I think that that's really the bottom line. They probably had some other factors such as increasing pricing power in Michigan, which the needle had been moving up a little bit in recent quarters. So perhaps some good pricing power there. I note that the margins went over 50%. They're ticking up, and that's 2% increase sequentially. And
Okay.
that's important because a lot of, not a lot of, but, some MSOs were down in the low 40s, some were in the 30s in gross margins. So to tick up above the 50% level is important. It's almost like a psychological benchmark where, you know, uh, you're earning more than your, gross operating expenses are in general, right? So that's always good to see. And but overall, I think it's just execution overall. I really do. I think a company's bringing down its debt. It has a very good cap structure, and it's bringing down its debt profile. So it's bringing down some of its interest expenses. And I think they're just hitting on all cylinders right now after kind of a slow start a few quarters ago, where they're
Yeah.
kind of lagging other MSOs. They're now right there with them.
I asked that question last month to Jason about the significance of listing on the TSX. He said it doesn't matter what exchange, it's all about how you perform. But this is a really good story, I think, for this company, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be one of the ones to watch moving forward. I think TerrAscend is going to be top of the conversation when people are regarding what are the most investable assets in this space. I mean, Jason's making all the right moves. He's in
Yep.
markets that I personally really like. He could throw a couple more on there. There's probably some good acquisition targets out there in markets such as Florida, maybe something in Illinois, maybe something in Arizona. Those big cash cow markets, but I mean bang up job right now with Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Maryland, and California.
Agreed.
And I think they're really going to rise to the top of the conversations.
Yep. All right, let's switch now. Probably the worst kept secret in the industry, but it seemed like it was inevitable. This terminated merger deal. Cresco Labs and Columbia Care recently terminated their intended merger, which was initially valued at $2 billion. Ben, again, what are your thoughts on this development, and how's this affect the industry, I guess?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. This was the worst kept secret, probably in the history of me following the cannabis markets. Everybody knew that this was DOA for the past several months. They kept extending the timelines of the deal, and it didn't make sense
Yeah.
because the capital in the stock market, the share structure had gone down. The market had been flat, and although they could have changed the exchange ratio, it just didn't make sense at this point, with the market being where it is. So they finally canceled the deal, which is good. Now, my biggest note here is that there was a 65 million, potentially a $65 million breakup fee that Cresco would owe, or sorry,
Yeah.
that Columbia Care would owe if the deal fell through under certain
Whoa.
covenants. But
Whoa.
it looks like that they separate amicably, and no exchange fee or breakup fee was given. So that's a good thing. They left on amicable terms.
S-
Yeah,
besi-
that would have been a large check to cash
Big.
if that was fully enforced. But I mean, there's one thing that not a lot of people are talking about, and it's the collateral damage from this deal falling apart.
That's what
And
I
one
mean.
of the
Yeah.
main things Yeah, I mean, one of the main things that's going to be collateral damage is Diddy actually had $185 million ready to go with a group to bring to market would have been the largest black-owned cannabis business in the country. It was going to be the infrastructure and the market rollout was going to be done by the combined entity of Columbia Care and Cresco, which that deal is now, as of this morning, dead in line with the transaction falling through. I'm sure he's probably already working on other routes to get to market, but I mean, that would have been a lot of capital in the space. I mean, I think it would have been a lot of good for the space, and I would have liked to see him get his hands in the cannabis market and bring something like that venture to life. But I mean, yeah, there's going to be far-reaching repercussions from this breaking up. I'm curious to see what each company does moving forward.
When you say other routes, if you had to guess, what do you think his strategy would be now?
I mean, probably align with somebody like a GTI or like a Curaleaf.
Yeah.
Someone that's in these keystone markets, someone that can roll out the infrastructure and has the infrastructure in the markets that he wants to penetrate. I mean, Cresco, the combined entity of Cresco and Columbia Care, I'd have to assume that Diddy was mostly going to be focused on their market penetration in the Northeast, as that's where he's from. That's where I know a lot of his businesses are. But I mean, I don't think that $185 million is just going to evaporate. Those investors probably still want to get into the cannabis business. I think there also is space for a large African American owned. I mean, I hate to use the word, but black owned cannabis company in the space, and I'm curious to see where that rises. But as of now, there's no clear
Yeah,
direction
100
as per where that's going to go.
100% there is, and why wouldn't there be, right?
Yep.
I think
Okay.
overall, it's just a reflection that the market has changed, right? So you bring up a
Yeah.
good point. What happens to Diddy's venture? I think there has to be like a reevaluation of where the market is, because when the original deal was announced in April 2022, there's a lot of optimism that safe banking and maybe certain policy measures would be taking place on a federal level, and now those are no longer there. Capital markets are in the toilet, so the market's completely changed even from 16 months ago. So that's going to affect the public side and the private side. And that's a very good question. What is Diddy going to do with that venture? I'll be curious to see what happens.
Yeah, it's a good point. Still optimistic though. I know you're neutral,
Yeah.
Ben, but I'm still optimistic about that Twitter Spaces last week with Don Murphy. I think we're going to see some change this fall. At least my fingers are crossed. But I
I mean,
think
there's a lot of bright spots. There's a lot of bright spots right now. Things are actually happening.
I
I mean,
talked
if
to
we're, but
Deborah.
we could easily be sitting in December. We could easily be sitting here in December, and everything just falls apart.
Well, Deborah
So
Borchardt from the Green Market Report, I spoke to her
yeah,
earlier this week, and she said, like, former Wall Street executive, and she's like, there's a ton of chatter right now on Wall Street pertaining to the industry. So be curious to see what we learn when we're in New York City later this week. Speaking of New York City, and the SEC reportedly recommended that Coinbase discontinuing allowing the trade of non-Bitcoin cryptocurrencies on their platform. I'll begin with you, Anthony. Why?
So before the SEC allegedly before the SEC served Coinbase this lawsuit, they reached out to Brian Armstrong and said, "Sir, we're going to recommend you stop the trading of every token that is on Coinbase with the exception of Bitcoin because we deem them all securities." He basically told him to fuck off.
Right.
He was like, that would set a precedent that every single crypto exchange,
Yep.
every single company, everything that is levered to crypto outside of Bitcoin is basically outside of the purview of the law, as it is right now. It would have killed crypto as we know it right now. He was like, no, like, sorry. But this goes back to the same thing that the SEC has the balls to do something like that. Meanwhile, they deemed all of this stuff kosher via the S1 when Coinbase went public and just completely went back on everything. I mean, the momentum is in our court right now with the rulings on XRP.
Yep.
There's several tailwinds right now versus headwinds, but I mean, this story is just it's laughable. When I read it, I was just like, just
So,
read it and moved on.
needless to say, Coinbase, you don't think will ultimately comply, correct?
No,
At all.
no,
Right.
no, no. That's not going to happen. They've already
Isn't that
said no. I
dangerous
don't
to
even
not
know.
comply with the SEC, like with their intentions, even if it's not like
I mean,
a regulation?
sure, but at the same time, what are they going to do? I mean, the
Mhm.
SEC can't really just shut down Coinbase. Um, I
Yeah, they can,
mean,
can't they?
no.
With other frivolous actions or whatever. If you want to,
If the SEC if the SEC had the power to outright shut down Coinbase, they would have already. They
Right.
wouldn't have came to them and asked, "Hey, you guys mind delisting all of these tokens as we deem them securities?" Or they would literally go in there and shut it down if Gary Gensler had the power to do that, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's checks and balances in our in our markets and in our systems.
It is abundantly clear, though, about how just the hires to be regarding government, SEC, traditional finance, Jamie Dimon, like all these people are just back and forth, and realizing that um, the more they try to control this, the more it gets out of control. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before. Like, it's far, far, far more reaching than it is in the United States. Like, crypto is global. It's international. It has no borders. It's never going to have borders. I mean, the U.S. is losing footing. Like, the U.S. happens to be losing footing, and on the crypto front, there's popular legislation that's being pushed around Europe. There's popular legislation that's being pushed around jurisdictions such as Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong.
Yeah.
We're on the path of getting it wrong. I mean, just like cannabis. Look at what Germany just rolled out. Germany's framework that Boris alluded to late last week was what we should be doing.
Mhm.
That's how cannabis should be getting rolled out. Meanwhile, we just are up in arms about it. But yeah, I mean, crypto is not going
Tough
anywhere.
though. You're looked at and viewed as for generations for being the number one global currency in the world, and it's tough to adapt. So the future's here, right? And countries are getting into action doing it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not. I mean, let's be real though. The apprehension to crypto by the United States government is not a function of losing confidence in the dollar. The dollar is going to be here regardless of what
I
happens
don't think so
with
much it's losing
cryptocurrency. It's about free. It's about freedom and like autonomy of people. Like they don't want people being outside or playing outside of their little sandbox.
That's what I mean. It's
Yeah,
tough to change, when you're viewed
yeah.
as number one. So, all right, let's switch now to psychedelics. And I know this announcement is grabbing a lot of people's attention, and I see some people rolling their eyes. But Cybin recently announced a public offering of 24.26 million units, which were priced at a discount to the market. The units being offered also include warrants to acquire common shares at 40 cents for 5 full years. Ben, start with you, buddy. If you're a shareholder, what's your thoughts on this?
Quick correction to start. I'm actually not a shareholder
If
currently of Cybin.
if you were a shareholder, though, how would you interpret this this announcement?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I can understand the need for financing. Obviously, this is biotech. They're gonna. This isn't going to be the last raise that Cybin conducts. There's going to be a few more down the pike for sure because they're only in phase 2 right now, and the phase 2's actually they're not even through that yet. Now the deal itself, we're talking like a 15% discount to market.
Yeah,
The shares trade at 40 cents US the previous day. They're priced at 34, and then you got the full warrant at 40 cents basically for 5 years. So if I'm a shareholder, I'm not particularly loving this particular deal. It's not that it's not the fact that they had to raise, that's expected, but it's I wouldn't call this exactly shareholder friendly because anybody who bought into this deal is basically getting a full warrant at the price that it closed at the day before, and
yeah.
then you have the pretty steep discount to its trading price the day before as well. So I'm not too excited about this deal. I understand
Hey,
why it
Ben.
happened. Now, it's worth noting that they did cancel the purchase share agreement with Lincoln Park Capital, and that
Right.
was the potential to
Yeah.
issue up to $30 million of common shares to them. So they are canceling a previous existing financing. So net, it kind of equals out a little bit. But in terms of the pricing, not the biggest fan. But you got to do what you got to do to raise capital.
What are you doing with $8 million though? This is drug development. Like, what are you doing with 8 million? I have no idea what that
Yeah.
is.
I mean, but they have the they're at the market program though, still running, isn't it? Like that's still alive and well.
Ben, do you
Like
know that?
I
Like,
would
yeah,
have to check on that. I'm not sure if that was in the context of Lincoln Park Capital, which
like
is
it.
essentially kind of the same thing. But I would have to check. But the deal itself, with the full warrant, it has the potential to raise up to $16.5 million dollars.
okay.
Yeah.
But so it's a little bit more than say the headline number. But the share price would have to get significantly above 40 cents for it to vest.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I mean, let's just call it how it is. It's not shareholder friendly.
No.
If I was a regular equity holder, I'd be kind of pissed, especially with the program that they just had open. But at the same time, like the only thing I can think of is that they needed to basically give their banking buddies a kickback. Something's coming, and then fill the coffers with some cash. Let them get the preferred equity at a discount to market. Clip the warrant, and some kind of catalyst happens, and then they're going to come back in and finance it on the other way around.
What do you mean by
Um,
something's coming?
I, I mean,
Your
you
guess is
gotta. I
gonna be
mean,
fine. Yeah.
Canner and the other bank that's involved, I forget the name of the other bank, but whoever the guys that are involved, I mean, they're not dumb. They're not just throwing $8.5 million like pissing into the wind. They're doing it to make money. So I mean, at the same time, like
So
I-
walk our audience
they've
through because you have this background better than anyone. But how do they make money in this particular situation based off this deal? How would it all work?
there's a lot of presumptions that has to go into that with the financial engineering, but I mean, you can make it you can make scenarios out to where you're clipping cash with the or selling the stock and then making the money on the warrants, and you can get into delta hedging, and it's a completely different. It gets pretty complicated, complex. as far as the financial engineering goes. But I mean, this is a very, very savory financing for the banks that are involved. It's nice. It'd be nice to be partaking in it. Like I said, if I was a common shareholder, I'd be pissed to see this coming out. And I think the market said that itself. I mean, I think the stock was down 28% when we first noticed the headline this morning.
Yeah.
So it's not very well received by the market.
Were you guys surprised by this announcement at all? I guess you can never be surprised in this industry, right?
I wasn't surprised because of the existing agreement with Lincoln Park Financial. I was at the understanding that at the market program was just being filled up, and they were buying as needed. Maybe things changed, but Cantor and a couple other banks came into the rescue to fill it up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's also possible that maybe this financing was done in lieu of the Lincoln Park Financial for whatever reason. They decide that that's not the avenue that they want to go, and that they want to cancel it. And this is sort of a substitution, at least for part of the funds, for that deal, right? So there are a lot of things that investors don't necessarily know that are not put in the press release, and I'd be careful not to make too many assumptions based on just the information that you have, because there's a lot of things happening, under the hood that we don't know about.
Which is why we're here. So, Doug, if you're watching this, we'd love to have you on to talk about the financing and get this get the streamline and get the messaging right. Because Ben is right. We are making assumptions here, and I'm sure there's a lot of nuance to the deal.
All right. Quick, I think that's a great idea. Doug Drysdale needs to come on. Leave a comment below. Ask questions in the comments below as to what you want us to ask Doug. Give us your top 5. We'll actually announce the top 5 in our interview with Doug Drysdale. We'll reach out to him. So let us know in the comments below. And like I said, we'll pick the top 5. What are we? 21, 22 minutes into this. I think that's it for now today, gents. If there's anything else pressing that we
By the way, you see that video I sent you about Dan Campbell wanting a live lion on the sidelines at the Lions games? The league frowns on it, though.
What is this, college? That's something that they would do in university, right? To bring like a live animal, or whatever.
You imagine a live lion?
Dan Campbell is a gem.
A live lion.
Yeah. He was being dead serious when he said it too.
Jesus. That's...
Would he be caged? I guess he'd have to be caged, right?
I would assume so, for insurance reasons.
What a great place for a lion to be, huh? Chained
Detroit?
on all different arms and just at a football game. That sounds like, a little much to say the least. But, I'd watch it. I'd like to see it. But scale 1 to 10 that happening, I'd give that about a 0.1.
Oh, it's 0. It's nixed.
It's not going to happen. But the NFL, 37 days till kickoff, right?
Oh, so just seeing the memes last night on TikToks. This guy's just dancing, and he's just like, this is the last month of the calendar year without football. We're getting close. Getting close.
By the way, who are your picks, guys? Since we had a short broadcast, who do you like? Who do you like this year to go all the way, or at least conference champions?
You're not going to like my picks because they're not sexy.
What?
But I mean, if I got to pick the top 3 teams to win the Super Bowl,
who?
You're not going to say Dolphins, are you?
Fuck no. Not with Jalen Ramsey going out. If they had Jalen Ramsey still in and they would have signed Dalvin Cook, I'd probably say the Dolphins. If I was top 3, I'd have to pick the New York Jets, the Philadelphia Eagles, or the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay, my playoff.
I also don't. Honorable mention would be Baltimore. I think Lamar comes out swinging with that new receiving core.
Okay, here's my 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7. Get rid of Minnesota. Okay, here's my 6 playoff teams. Dallas, Philadelphia, and the Giants out of the East.
Dallas?
Detroit is the 4th team. They'll win their division. Is there 6 or 7 teams that make the postseason now? 7, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Number one bye.
Okay, so I'll put Minnesota back in there. So Dallas, the Eagles, and the Giants come out of the East. Detroit, Minnesota in the North. Carolina is the only team out of the South. They'll win that division. And San Francisco.
Carolina.
Like Carolina. They finished strong last year. I like the Saints. Sean Payton's gone.
Who's the quarterback of the Saints? I couldn't even tell you.
Who's
Is
the
it Jameis
quarterback?
Oh,
Winston?
it's Derek Carr.
Derek
He
Carr.
came over from.
Ah,
Oh.
you know what?
It's an
You
upgrade.
think Derek Carr makes it? You think Derek Carr makes a difference?
It's a lot better than
Yeah,
what
he's
they
good.
had.
He's like a
Dude,
top 12 guy.
The Raiders sucked.
I know Derek
With
Carr
him.
was pretty decent though, but who was the quarterback last year for the Saints? Jameson Winston, but he was hurt. And then who?
No,
Andy
it was
Dalton?
It was Dalton.
No, yeah,
Dalton.
it was Andy Dalton, and then it was who's the other guy?
Third stringer.
He's like
Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill.
Tampa
Taysom Hill.
Tampa Bay's, I think, is going to have the worst record in football. They're horrible.
Tampa Bay will suck. Yes.
So you got Falcons. Who do they draft? Who's their quarterback?
Desmond Ridder. I think the Falcons could actually be a sleeper.
Yeah, you're right.
Especially with this running back that they have, Brian Bijan or Brian, whatever you want to pronounce it, Robinson.
Bijan Robinson. Yeah, he's
Bijan Robinson.
He's
nasty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And if Jonathan Taylor does get traded, whatever team gets that man is probably going to catapult themselves. And I was reading an article today that Jerry might be trying to get Jonathan Taylor down to Dallas.
Jim Irsay, he does not strike me as a good football owner. Seemed kind of
ever since Peyton left. I mean, they got screwed with Andrew Luck. Like they had a generational talent.
Colin Cowherd actually brought up some numbers. Only a 5-year starting quarterback in the NFL, but his numbers
they were insane.
They all qualify for Hall of Fame numbers. So is he a Canton? I'm like, no, not 5 years.
No.
Sorry.
No. He'll never get in just on longevity. But I mean, Andrew Luck was a generational quarterback.
You talk about the NFC. Okay, the AFC East, you have Miami, Buffalo, and the Jets. And those are 3 really good teams.
That's a toss-up. Any of those teams. I think Josh Allen takes a step back this year, and I think Aaron Rodgers looks like Pro Bowl Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but look, step back.
The Jets are going to be.
The Bills
the Jets
are going to be very good. Then you have Baltimore, Cincinnati,
I think Jets be better than the Bills,
and Pittsburgh. Not to mention Cleveland. I hate Deshaun Watson. I don't think
I'm not buying Kenny Pickett.
They came on last year.
And I'm also not buying Deshaun Watson. He looked absolutely terrible. Like, he looked like he forgot how to play football.
Over or under? Denver gets 8 wins with Sean Payton.
Under.
Okay. Kansas City wins the West. Right back, Ben?
Yeah, I think so.
Or do you think the Chargers ready to take that step?
No, I'm going with KC.
Mahomes is the best player. Mahomes is still the best player. As far as I'm concerned, Mahomes is the best player in the league.
KC, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. Raiders are going to be awful. Then the other division, Jacksonville will walk away. Tennessee's rebuild mode.
I think they're going to be good.
Tennessee?
No, Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
Calvin Ridley's going to be a difference maker on that team.
Jacksonville, Tennessee, Houston will be their
trash.
But they got a hell of a lot of draft picks. And then, why am I drawing a blank? Who's the 4th team in that division? Houston, Jacksonville,
Tennessee, and
Colts.
Oh, yeah, which
Jacksonville win that division. But you've got 9 really good AFC teams. 9.
Yeah, the AFC stacked. Yeah.
Benny, you a Bengals fan? Look at that orange you're wearing. Sporting today, buddy.
Yeah, not getting the black stripes on it though, but I like the Bengals. They're not my favorite team. I actually am a Dolphins fan. I might have said this here on the broadcast before. Yeah, I'm a Dolphins fan. I used to love Marino growing up, so I'm dating myself.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but we never.
It's hard not to like Dan.
Yeah, I love Dan. I still love the Dolphins today. That's why I don't like the Bills. But now, I entertainment value. It's all about the entertainment value.
Bears are at home. The weekend we go to Chicago for the Benzenga Conference.
I'm going to call this now. Justin Fields is a top 5 quarterback at the end of the season.
You know what? I picked Detroit, Minnesota. Check that. Get rid of Minnesota. It's Detroit and Chicago that are making the postseason.
I just can't buy Kirk Cousins.
Does Seattle make the postseason? Because you could say, does Dallas, the Giants, and Eagles make?
Who's Seattle's quarterback?
Geno Smith.
Oh, it's Geno Smith.
He had a good year, but
I don't know. Kenneth Walker was really good before he got injured, and I mean Seattle's always solid, but they got to play the Niners and everybody else on that side of the country twice
all
a
these
year.
people talking about how the Rams are going to revamp. And I'm like, no, they have a 35, 36-year-old quarterback on a fragile back with a weak offensive line. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
he
they're
won't even
done.
last the season. This is it for him. That's great, though, is Jonathan Taylor potentially going to Dallas. That'd be amazing.
That'd be crazy.
Well,
then I'd put Dallas in the playoffs.
What? Without them, you don't think they're in a postseason bid?
I don't like Dak. I don't buy Dak. I don't buy Dak.
Should have got Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. Should have drafted him. Even if he didn't play this year,
No,
they should have drafted him. They
Texans
should have drafted
Anthony Richardson. I told you here first. You know, Anthony kind of
You think
scoffed
so?
because you looked at his Florida. I'm telling you, this guy's going to be an absolute fucking beast. I'm telling you.
No, he's out of the league in 3 years.
Out of the league in 3 years?
Out of the league in 3 years.
Wow.
He's Jamarcus Russell 2.0.
Benjamin, take that bet, buddy.
Jamarcus Russell couldn't run, dude.
He's Jamarcus Russell. This guy can't read a defense.
He doesn't
He
have
got
to.
picked off.
I tell you, because he can run so well in this new NFL, you're going to have a person spy. People will get open for him. He's going to struggle at first. I'm not saying he's going to be a great passer, but give him a couple years, then he's gonna be that dual threat option.
So you think he's gonna run? You think he's gonna run like Lamar or Justin Fields?
Yeah,
maybe.
He's faster than Justin Fields. What do you mean? Justin Fields was a 4.52. This guy's a legit 4.4 guy. 4.4, dude. With a better arm.
His arm. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have a better arm.
A better arm?
No.
He has a stronger arm. He threw a
stronger arm
in the combine.
No. I'm not saying he doesn't have a strong arm. I'm saying that kid. I can call him a kid now. Fuck, I'm probably 10 years older than him. That kid does not know how to read a defense. The NFL will eat you alive.
Yeah.
If you cannot read a defense.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how.
If you can't
doesn't matter how gifted you are.
You watch how things open up for him. We'll see. This is a thesis. Anthony, I'm glad you said that. And you're right. You could be right. I'm not saying that I don't think about that being a risk, but we'll revisit this at the end of the year. In December, we're going to have this conversation.
Okay, we're in New York later this week. Let us know, what are the top 5 restaurants? Where should we go for a bite to eat later this week, Thursday night? Let us know in the comments below. You guys been in New York City? Let us know. What are your top 5 restaurants to visit in New York City? We'll take some pics and give you a shout out while we're there. What do you think?
We're gonna get some interesting answers. I mean, I've got my buddy has notifications on for Raoul's, Hawksmoor, and 2 other restaurants that are like top notch.
Nice. Yeah. Which one's the Italian place again?
Emilio's. I would say let's go to Emilio's if I haven't went there the past 4 times I've been in New York.
Oh, that's the place you took me to in December, right?
Yes.
Great place.
Emilio's is red sauce Italian. Emilio's is one of the best in the city.
You walk into that place, it's like old school diner, wall of fame pictures of celebrities up, very narrow place, New York City style, but oh my God, loud. All the servers look like old school Italian mobsters, and they know their food, right?
Yeah, that is a good meal every time.
I want to know where the people with connections go, because they just walk through the diner and through the kitchen and go to some back room.
So they eat in the kitchen.
Do they really?
Yeah, they've got 4 tables set up in the kitchen. The thing with Emilio's is it's kind of like a racket. If you're friends with the 2 sons run the place.
Okay.
If you notice when we were waiting in line, all of the people that were pretty much cutting the line and going in were under 35.
Yeah, you're right.
They're all boys with Emilio's 2 sons.
Gotcha.
And they just let them in. But yeah, they've got like 4 or 5 tables in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Where you can actually eat.
Looking at the August months too. Ben, did you watch the All-Star game, the home run derby at all? Man, Vladdy Jr. He was huffing and puffing, but he crushed a lot of dingers.
He's a machine.
No, I missed it, but I know Adley Rutschman, the catcher for the Orioles. I think he slammed 55 home runs or something like that, a record, and he's a switch hitter. Like that was. Did he?
I thought that was. Wasn't it J-Rod?
The guy from who's the guy from Seattle?
Seattle. It's J-Rod.
He hit 41 home runs in 1 round.
Yeah.
What a stadium, though, because I've seen highlights, but they actually had drone footage. That is a crazy stadium, like really cool.
Where is it at?
Safeco, which I'm assuming it's still called Safeco in Seattle.
Oh, yeah. They've got, I mean, the what's it? I forget the name of the field, but Seattle's got a sick football stadium too.
Oh, the Seahawks play Quest Field.
Yeah. Yes. Quest Field.
Unbelievable atmosphere.
Yeah.
Best atmosphere in football.
You know what? I want to give
yeah.
before I go, I want to give Major League Baseball props because I actually got out of watching baseball. I was into baseball my whole life. I got out of it the last couple of years because the game started to get slower. And even for like, Gen Xers like me, it was a
Yeah.
little bit too much. But the clock,
It's amazing, isn't it?
yeah, not allowing the pitchers, they have to face a minimum of 3 batters and all that. They've shortened the game by like 30, 35 minutes, and it's really made a difference. I was skeptical, so I didn't really watch this year until I actually started watching, and there's such a flow to the game now.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
the improvements have been way better in my opinion.
I went to opening day in Detroit. A couple of the boys were like, last call. They're like, what? They thought it was like the 5th inning. And it wasn't. But don't look now, but the Baltimore Orioles are in first place in that loaded AL East. Yes. Tampa's in second.
Oh, did you see Houston's getting Verlander?
Did they trade? They made that at
they didn't make it, but it's pretty much like done.
Max Scherzer went to Texas, so teammates become rivals in the big state of Texas. All right, gents, this has been good. A little sports segment. I'm sure our followers are like less sports, more stock talk. We'll have more of that. Don't worry. We'll have more information later this week. But in the meantime, appreciate you checking in, and see you guys later this week.
Talk soon. See you tomorrow.
Leave comments below. Where should we eat in New York City? Give us your top 5. Check you later. What's up, everyone? So what'd you think of the interview? Are there any more questions you want us to ask that you want to learn more of? Then leave a comment below and let us know what you think. As usual, share this video with your network, smash that like button, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel because we would not be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.